Hi, thank you for being here. Thank you for watching us. Thank you for being here live. If you're watching us after, thank you for that. If you're listening on the podcast, thank you so much for being here. This is it. This is our season finale of the Harris After Dark or whatever it's called, and I'm here with Gary. How you doing, Gary?
Yeah. I don't admit it, but my wonderful friend Chris, he reminded me that Gary wanted to be here. But you know really what it is? Gary's taking over the show, and it might be a little subconscious thing in me that's like it's not really Harris after it's Harris and Jim, Harris Doug, but it's really it's Harris and Gary. It's the Hag Show. So.
Yeah, because we didn't have Gary on camera for like up until about 5 minutes before we started. I was like, "Hey, I don't see Gary," and Jim went, "Oh yeah, whoops."
And then Gary started texting me. It got weird. So.
And for the podcast audience, Gary is a stuffed bear that is wearing Eagles paraphernalia. So we're here. First and foremost, I'm super excited to do one last live stream. So I'm really going to lean into the chilling out with the people in the chat and answering their questions about anything. We're going to basically do like an AMA. Very much looking forward to that. We're certainly going to talk about the Super Bowl. I've got a couple of other questions. I really kind of want this to be a football discussion because I know how much time Eagles fan Jim has devoted to thinking about the football side of this game. So I'm really looking forward to that. And then, of course, we'll also describe some fun bets that you could consider and props and stuff like that as we go along. Sound good, Jim?
It does. It sounds great because I'm
fine.
Yeah.
And you're absolutely fine.
And Gary's here, so.
Right. Gary, I'm pretty sure I know where Gary's going on his wager this week. So I'm going to take a quick spin over and see, did we get some folks here in the chat? I got Victor, I got Greg, I got Jaquan, I got Joe Snow, who is my in real life friend. I got Mo Dougie. This is great. Thank you all for being here, and hopefully we'll get some more folks going as we get along. And remember, stick around because we are going to answer questions, and it's basically an AMA. Whatever you want to ask, we're going to do a little more of that this time around because we only have one game to talk about, but let's talk about it. There's a Super Bowl, and this time, Jim, it's not happening on the world's stupidest, worst turf. Are you excited?
Yeah, I mean, no sod fathers, no fathers at all that have to do with any sort of grass or anything like. There was some. See, I hear everything. I don't hear everything. That's ridiculous. I'm not omniscient. This is a never-ending story. I'm not a narrator, but I do hear that there's turf in New Orleans, and Jared Goff's not there. But Saquon Barkley, he says he doesn't like turf. I think he's going to fall in love with turf. But my point is, it's not slippery and it's not slidey. Let's all remember how bad that was for everybody. I know the Eagles fans like to complain, but that was just malpractice for everybody. So
malpractice. I mean, people are like, "Oh, definitely bet the over in this game," because you remember the last time, just 2 years ago, these teams played 82-81 Super Bowl. It's like, yeah, because everyone couldn't stand out.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm happy that everybody in New Orleans, which I am not, seems very happy to be in New Orleans. That it's like the most walkable of the Super Bowl cities. I don't think it's been there for like 12 years maybe.
Wow.
So good job. I hope everybody has a good time if they are going to the game. So the way I'm going to break this down, Jim, is like when the Chiefs have the ball and when the Eagles have the ball and kind of what you're looking at from a football side of things. I'm going to start when the Chiefs have the ball. It feels like that's a simpler story because we know what the Chiefs offense wants to do, can do, all that stuff. When we previewed the NFC Championship game against the Commanders, we talked a lot about the Eagles zone. Eagles zone, 2 back, 2 safety back. I feel like now that we're at the last game, we can dig into that a little bit because it's not really a fully like a zone. It is certainly 2 safeties high, but it's much more of what they call like a match zone, where you stay where you're supposed to stay. You have your zone on any given play, but then there are rules for man coverage once a man is inside your zone. And if I have a concern about a very good Eagle defense, it's that Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, very, very good at creating mixed signals for those rules, for those, like Kelsey's a great improviser, a great route runner, one of the best improvising route runners ever, like with two-way goes and choice routes and stuff like that. And so you're going to be relying on a play-to-play basis of, 11 guys on the Eagles. 7 guys on the Eagles being in their zones is fine, and preventing big plays. I think they can do that, but having to match up correctly and not get, because this has been 2 weeks of Andy Reid in the lab trying to figure out ways to confuse and vex those man rules.
Yeah, I think Philadelphia fans like forever have known this idea of for us, the script, the 15 script, Andy Reid comes out strong. Like he always has, like the idea of the first 15. And I think something that's been discordant with like coaches since, because we thought that was normal. I guess it was a 15-year pattern that you come out firing and you start strong. He's a great preparation coach. I mean, like the bye week thing too, right? Like it's not a trope. He's a great coach in terms of preparing for specific opponents, right? Like, and I've seen that happen in my history as being a fan of him. I think he doesn't play things straight, right? Like, and Fangio and this idea of I think one thing that's a misnomer is this Fangio versus Mahomes thing, because this is really Reid versus Fangio, in my opinion, right? And I suppose what you were saying was the complications. It's a pass-off zone, right? It's a communication zone. So if they're in, say, if Cooper DeJean has to handle the hash to here, he has to communicate if he's sticking with the guy or not. And I don't know how they do that, but they always talk on this team about over-communicating. That's like the main thing about like constantly signaling. And I think that's the danger is that it's a very quick synapse defense. It's a synapse defense as opposed to a we know what we're doing right away thing. And I think that's what makes it dangerous is that it is reactive and adaptive. So I'm scared to a degree because here's my thing. I'm not scared of the personnel. I watched a lot of I'm really not that scared. I think this idea that Worthy's really coming on is a little bit overblown, meaning I don't think he's like threaded into your fear all that time. It really continues to me to be I'm afraid of the fact that they don't have anybody that imposing, and that I'm still scared of them. because of deception and of scheme and of rhythm. I think they're going to keep you off cadence.
So Vic Fangio is the defensive coordinator for Philadelphia, as you all know. And last year he was Miami's defensive coordinator. And that Miami defense, which started the season not very good, got really good by the second half of the year.
Yes.
And then they got that ice cold playoff game in Kansas City against the Chiefs where they got blown out. And I went back and looked at a little bit of that one and was shocked to see how much pressure Fangio brought. When he knew, he knows everything I just said. That rules are going to get stretched, that it's going to have to be the right decision every single play for a bunch of guys within that matchup zone. And he decided to kind of throw caution to the wind before it was a blowout, before anything. He decided we're bringing heat, and it did not work.
No.
So if you were, as you are an Eagle fan, would you prefer to see them sit back? Would you prefer to see them, blitz on 30% of the plays?
Well, I think he really is a classic base defensive coordinator in the sense of like Jim Schwartz. Like Schwartz was the defensive coordinator for the Eagles for 4 years. The only time he ever blitzed was when his edge rushers were injured. Like, meaning I think it would be a situation where he was not getting home. So I don't think you're going to see that as like an initial plan at all. Okay. I don't think he's going to try to give Mahomes math. I just don't. He's going to hope they're not going to hope. He's going to let them a long time get home fairly. Like, I really think it's a gamble of that they don't have the beaters. Like, they don't have the guys to beat you the way they did. And I guess the counterpoint is, did 2022 have that? But that offense was just way better. That was the number one offense of the last 6 years of offenses. That was number one in EP out of 192 teams. This Chiefs, Chiefs. This one's 80th. And like, so it's like more normal. That was, I don't want to use that as the template, but there's a fear of just, like there's something not definable about the Chiefs that continues to scare me, which is that they keep winning.
It's definable. We'll get to him.
What I mean is, I didn't say that right. Schematically, I can't point to like the player they're going to want to expose on us. I don't play for the Eagles. So,
so the last part of this is kind of turning it around to like an Eagles advantage or a place of stress for the Chiefs, which has been all year, which is the left tackle's been a disaster. Right. And they have, I assume they're going to keep Joe Thuney out at left tackle, which we should just take a second and talk about how ridiculous that is. I mean, I have a bias towards Joe Thuney because he was a Patriot for the end of that dynasty, and now he's gone and been in this dynasty as a guard, and now he's playing left tackle in the Super Bowl because they can't find anybody else, and he's doing an admirable job. I mean, I think he's going to have a harder time with Philadelphia's pass rush than Buffalo's, but like, let's see, he might be able to handle it. But it means that other guard, what's his name, Caliendo, not Frank, has to play guard, and he's been torn up by people who are not Jalen Carter. And I'm sure, again, we're not talking about something Kansas City isn't aware of, but they are going to have a plan for Jalen Carter because that's exactly where he lines up.
Yeah, and I even think if it does get funny with stuff, I think he might even pivot and have Milton Williams one-on-one with him, because then he'll know that you have to pick your poison. You can't double 2 tackles. Jalen Carter has the highest double team rate of all interior linemen in the league. It's kind of Aaron Donald-esque, like 70%. Meaning Caliendo is going to be one-on-one somewhere. So you mentioned it. That's the exposure. As good as Tooney is, it's also like you create, when you shift things around, you create issues. The right side of the line in Kansas City is, Trey Smith and Creed Humphrey. That's awesome. That's where we're going to watch. My eyes are going to be everywhere, but they're going to the floor. They're going to be, but I'm going to be staring at Gary's eyes. But I am looking at the left side of the Chiefs line to see, particularly Jalen Carter. He's really good, and Mike Calendo's not. I mean, he's not even a comedian. So,
I mean, it's not even related, I don't think, to the comedian. So, all right, I want to keep going, and we're going to keep talking about this game and much more. But let me thank DraftKings one last time this season, because they sponsored this show all the way through from September until now. And of course, the Super Bowl is a pretty darn good time to have your phone out and to be messing around with the DraftKings app. Please do it in moderation. Do it like $1 a bet or something, just for fun, but make like 50 of them, because this is the time. The player props are awesome. We're going to talk about some of our favorites. You can do like minute live if you think things are shifting in a way that the odds don't account for yet. It's a very fun experience if you've never done it before, to have the DraftKings app open as you're watching a Super Bowl, because you can bet on kind of anything. It's a blast. And if you've never downloaded the DraftKings app, please do. And if you sign up using the code HarrisTube, all one word, HarrisTube, you make one $5 bet, you'll get $200 in bonus bets to play around with. That'll cover you for the whole Super Bowl. So make on Friday or something, make one $5 bet on a money line NBA game or something, and you'll have $200 in bonus bets in your account for the Super Bowl. It's very, very fun. Again, download that DraftKings app, signing up using the code HarrisTube. We don't get money because of it or anything, but if more people use the code, there's a better chance they come back and sponsor again next year. And we do appreciate that. We appreciate them so much. They've been sponsoring all of my stuff for 10 years. So I clearly have a whole lot of good feelings and loyalty to DraftKings. Before I do anything else, I want to hit a topic that I forgot to hit last week with you, Jim. It was on my little self-created rundown, and I just skipped over it, which is the Fox announcing crew is going to be doing this game.
I hear somebody laughing in my ear.
Yeah, nobody else can hear Dave, but Dave is cracking up because he wanted to hear us talk about this topic. The Fox announcing crew is doing it, and Tom Brady will be part of that crew. And there are multiple angles we could talk about here. I think both of us probably agree that he's not all that good at it. Maybe he got a little better, but he not all that good at it.
No, the cool stuff is when he is really says nice stuff about Nick Foles, but otherwise, it's
right.
kind of weird.
He doesn't have. He's got tons of things to say, but somebody's told him not to say them. That isn't what I wanted to talk about. What I wanted to talk about is how insane it is that the part owner of an NFL team is allowed to be an NFL broadcaster and announce the Super Bowl. What an unbelievable conflict of interest that is. I'm here as one of the biggest Tom Brady fans ever. He was my quarterback. How in the world can this possibly be allowed? As anodyne and vanilla as he is, it still influences stuff, perception. Yeah. He can say things about the Raiders, or he can praise a player, or he can talk crap about a player, and it matters in the scheme of what contract that guy gets. How is this possible?
It's just so bad. So the only connection I can make, and this is completely tangential, I'm reading Dr. J's autobiography, right? And his first ABA contract was signed with the Virginia Squires, and it got voided because the guy who signed him was secretly the GM of the team. So his agent was also working for the team. So that is a conflict of interest, friends. So he got out of that contract, all right, and he went to the New Jersey Nets. But my point is, that's what we're meaning skullduggery. There's a word for it. It's just, it's too much.
It's such an unbelievable breach of anything related to like fair play, competition, all this. I mean, Roger Goodell's an idiot.
Yes.
But he's also not the one who's making any actual decisions in that organization.
He's a
like
lab
the smart,
beautiful eyes. Yeah.
the smart people who own these teams, who like their billions of dollars and don't want to spend fair market value for their players and all that stuff. Like, how in the world can they be allowing this? I have a secret conspiracy theory just that I've kept to myself, which is that he's done after the Super Bowl, that it'll be fine. He'll do fine. He can't be bad because he doesn't say anything.
Right.
But like, it'll be fine. And then he'll be like, you know what? I need to turn my attention to the Raiders.
Right.
And that would be correct. That would be the right thing. And I have no idea if that dude could do it. I think he's like the Pete Carroll hire doesn't fill me with confidence. I got to admit.
Well, Chip Kelly, like, super fun, but
Chip Kelly, Chip Kelly's fun. But yeah, I just don't understand how it could possibly be allowed. All right, let's do the other side when the Eagles have the ball in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
We know that the Rams and the Commanders had to play 8 in the box. They're not good enough on defense. It didn't prevent Saquon Barkley from having massive explosive plays, but it did limit their per play running efficiency.
Right.
And so, like, if you're just looking at yards per carry and all that stuff, not a terrible reflection of what happened. It's just not a good prediction of what's going to happen. And mostly they bottled up the running game, but they had to do it by playing a lot of man against the receivers, trusting that Jalen Hurts wasn't going to beat them. In the case of the Commanders, eventually he did beat them.
Right.
The Chiefs, however, I don't think they're going to stack the box at first. How about you?
No, I don't. I think he's scarier. They're scary. Spags is scary because he is even more adaptive than Fangio. Fangio still is like always going to do his thing. So the other thing would be the real undefinable thing is, what does Spags bring to you? I think personnel-wise, it's also a different team than 2022, which is not, obviously every team is different. But what I mean by that is there's no more Snead. There's no more true outside guy. McDuffie's small. I think the real thing they're going to come with is they're going to try to mess with Jalen's math. A lot of, what do you call them, simulated pressures. I think there's going to be a ton of movement and goofiness. And it's going to come down to Jalen to see if he can pick what that really means, because some of it's going to be meaningful. Like, they're going to. Does anyone remember like Spags, the last play of the Buffalo game? Spags had 4 safeties, 3 linebackers, and 2 down linemen. Like, and I don't know what does that leave? Are there 3 refs and like Andy Reid? Like, you know what I mean? He saves his goofiness, and so. Just when we talked about Andy Reid, I am worried a bit about the exotic looks, but I don't think the Eagles are going to get away at all from who they are. And the idea is get out of 3rd and longs, right? So run. Well, that's how you end up in 3rd and longs, if you run. So I think there's going to be a better distribution. And I think, not to like tip my props, but I think it's going to be a heavier passing outlet from the Eagles than maybe you might expect. Like, I think they're going to try to move the ball on time, because otherwise Spags are going to get to you.
Well, I mean, I remember the Super Bowl 2 years ago, and yeah, the field was bad, and maybe that had something to do with it, but he sure did blitz a lot.
He did.
And brought weird pressures, like you said. And like Hurts played the game of his life. He played the best he's ever played.
Ever.
The thing that you and I have said all year is that Hurts is a shadow of that guy. Something has happened to him to where he's no longer accurate throwing on the run. Do you remember all those plays where he got flushed out in that Super Bowl and threw daggers on the run, like into tight windows?
Yes.
He's so much more hesitant. His reads are not nearly as decisive, and he's not as mobile. The injuries have taken a toll on him. I will say he's been better against the blitz this year.
Yes.
With Kellen Moore.
I think it's just that there was just zero, there was no hot reads last year. There was just no plan, and it got absurd last year. Like, the idea of blitzing the Eagles, like everybody was like, we should do it too. Like it wasn't even
the Buccaneers won that playoff
That's
game.
What I mean.
Strictly.
But even the Giants were doing it. Like, everybody was doing it.
Yeah. I think one place where our eyes can go when the Eagles have the ball is Trent McDuffie. You mentioned him. Sure. He's small, but he's real good. Most teams don't throw at him.
No.
And usually you go the other way. So I'll be interested.
You go to Watson, or you go to the nickel. You want to go to the other little guy, Connor. So we'll see. Yeah.
Right. What I'll be interested to see is, all right, I mean, the focus has to be Barkley to start with on
Sure.
early downs. And so you're going to get some man coverage on the outside. And like McDuffie will McDuffie doesn't have to stay. He'll play on the outside too. And there's a world where they'll put McDuffie on AJ Brown one-on-one and assume that Jalen won't throw it there. And I don't know, like, then it's up to Jalen kind of, because it's a scarier guy to throw.
It is theory, right? Yeah.
And so there's that is a possibility. I'll be watching McDuffie, or do they put McDuffie on Devontae Smith? I think this is likelier. And then they bracket in some way AJ Brown. And then it becomes incumbent upon Devontae Smith to, on those early downs that you're talking about, when the Chiefs are playing it pretty square because they have to keep an eye on Barkley, does Devontae Smith get open and make plays against McDuffie? And Devontae Smith's a good player.
Yeah.
I'm a little disappointed he hasn't developed into being a better player, and I don't love the matchup if I have to throw Devontae Smith with McDuffie on him.
I can say that it's flattened out for sure. I thought there'd be more, particularly the clutch time throws you have to make. And he is. It's hard to say because I'm anecdotal, and I'm like, remember that one time, but. The point is that there aren't I suppose what you're saying is actually part of an entire issue with the Eagles, which is that quick timing, reliable, have to get it now plays, which are slants and digs to guys like AJ Brown and Smith. They're going to know that he can't make those plays, and they're going to just add as much friction as they can. Like, meaning you probably wouldn't want to sell at as much of grabbing Devonta Smith off the line because he's really good off the line, but if this guy's not good making quick decisions, then that extra second buys us Chris Jones. So
then who cares? Yeah.
I do think they're going to, what I mean, I know it's like everybody messes with timing, but I don't think of all quarterbacks in this subset of people who can, or teams who can make this tier, he's the one who his timing is most fragile, in my opinion. That there's a window where he's good, and then there's a window where he's not, and Spags is going to try as much to put him in that window. So, yeah. You want
we'll make some picks and do some props here as we get along, but those are my thoughts on the actual X's and O's, the main points that I'm going to be watching. I mean, obviously, we're watching Saquon Barkley.
We're watching, I forgot to mention him.
Yeah, we're watching Travis Kelce. These are very important players.
I thought we all assumed he was going to have 301 yards, and we were talking about the other stuff.
You better have Mahomes down by more than 2 touchdowns at the end. I think most people should be able to say. But you know what? Let's do an AMA. Let's do an Ask Me Anything right now for the folk. We had a lot of folks in here. So I'm going to vamp a little bit while the video catches up so that the people who are in the live chat can catch up. And you guys ask whatever you want, and we're going to answer all your questions because that's how I advertise it on social. It's an AMA. So, in the meantime, Jim, do you have a Sunday plan? I assume you must be staying home in a dark room.
Yeah. I'm taking this question over. First of all, we're going to a CVS. We're taking it over. They said it's 24 hours to test their rules. Yeah, they got Gatorade. They got what is it called? Werther's. They got it all. You know what I mean? Go Birds. Yeah, but seriously, I'm legally not allowed to enter CVS within the tri-state area. Walgreens party. Go Birds. I have plans. Yeah. I'm going to my friend's house. He's gonna do fancy things like sous vide and grill.
Wow.
And I'm just gonna sit there and scream and curse. So
whenever my team was in the Super Bowl, which, not to brag, was pretty often, I would be real bold about like the first half. Like, sure, I'll go to the party, but then if they weren't winning at halftime, I'm out of there.
Oh man, I'm gonna do that. If that happens, I'm gonna do that. I like that plan. Yeah. The Irish exit, I like that. Yeah. Except
all right, so
we lost the Patriots the first time. It was bad. So yeah.
I got some questions. This is a great one because you are an NBA guy just as much as you are an NFL guy. That tall guy says, "Do you have thoughts on the Luka trade?"
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's things missing, but I don't think there's as much missing as people think. Like, there's not some big shooter drop. I think sometimes, particularly, like, not to get, like, I don't want to, how to say this, but have you ever noticed how sometimes people in charge really aren't that good at what they're doing? I think that might be what's happening with Dallas. If you saw the press conference, he just said all the things you're not allowed to say. Nico Harrison said, I might get fired anyway, so why not? And it was like, wait, don't say that. So I think the collusion and the weird part is that it went to Los Angeles, and that's where the anger comes from. But really, it just came down to the fact that somebody really incompetent made a big decision.
Like, I'm not even that mad at a franchise that decides this is not the guy we want to hitch our wagon to. We know him better than anybody else, and he's a fat slob, and he always has been, and he's an unbelievable player, but he's not going to age well because he likes beer too much. If you make that decision, maybe I don't agree with it, but I get where you're coming from.
Yes, yeah.
I get where you're coming from, but to talk to one team and not to find out, like, you could have gotten half the Rockets roster. You could have gotten the world's worth of draft picks from any number of teams. Like, that
is it
part
instant messenger? Like, how is he doing trades? Like,
that does seem like, well, he's great friends with Rob Pelinka. They knew each other from a long time ago.
The Nike Discord really worked that time. Yeah.
Jaquan says, "What is your favorite barbecue meat? Cheesesteak does not count."
Oh, well, it's brisket for me. It's very difficult meat. It's high quality, and I like it. It's not really high quality. It's actually a tough meat. I love brisket. I love a good brisket. Yeah.
Brisket is your go-to. Victor says, "Are you concerned with DK Metcalf? Not from a contract perspective, but maybe from physical regression, or was it injury related this year?"
No, I mean, I'm still in on. He just is who he is. I don't expect any like growth beyond what he is. But yeah, he's 1,100 yards and 9 touchdowns.
Yeah, the idea that he was ever going to be Julio Jones feels like it's maybe a little bit out the window.
Yeah.
He's like Julio Jones with a really bad temper. I feel like some of his problem comes down to he doesn't stay on his game.
I got sidetracked somehow with him this week. Darius Slay had a podcast, and he was like, "One time I just blocked him, and he beat the crap out of me." They showed the play, and it was like, wow, he just lost his mind. So, and I think that's actually kind of the saying around, like, that maybe like the head isn't there in terms of the focus, but he sure is fun to not. I don't draft him, so he's fun to watch. Like, he's got initials, so
he does. I think there's a chance he's on another team. I do.
Yeah.
I said that on the podcast.
She's got that Seattle. Yeah.
He's going to hold out. He's in his last year of guaranteed money. I think he's going to hold out. Christian says, "If Mahomes stays healthy for 10 more years, how many Super Bowls does he win?"
Too many? Like all the Eagles don't. So 4.
Things happen.
Yeah.
Probably not.
Yeah.
I mean,
2.
Probably it winds up like they get to a bunch of divisional rounds and then they lose because they don't quite have Kelsey and they don't quite Andy Reid retires and whatever. I'll say 2.
Yeah,
but nothing against him.
It's over the Saquon Barkley 500-yard Super Bowl. So
it's just hard. It's just hard to do. Let's see. Ian says, with DK, maybe it's the vitamins.
Yeah, you never know. I mean, what was that guy's name? David Boston. Yeah.
Ty says he made it. He got the lad McConkey to bed and made it to the chat. Thank you, Ty. Thanks for being here and ask a question. You guys all ask a question. Nico was very excited to see Gare Bear. We're going to hear from Gare Bear and more in just a little bit for sure. I'm going to ask you a question, Jim. We're recording this a day before the NBA trade deadline, and we saw some more moves NBA wise.
Yep.
But I don't know that I feel like Kyle Kuzma is going to save anybody. Am I wrong about that?
Kyle Kuzma not saving like Kyle Kuzma. I mean, he probably broke his PlayStation today, so I don't know.
Yeah. So I think maybe I'm not. Do you think anything? I mean, they're talking about Kevin Durant, and he decided he didn't want to go.
Like, yeah. Sorry.
He decided he didn't want to go to the Warriors. And apparently, that's not going to happen. But I mean, KD would wouldn't you want the Sixers to do it if they could?
Yeah, I mean, my favorite part is he just puts the subject line right away. He's like, no. Like, his email is very clear. It's the strangest deadline that says that Jimmy Butler and Kevin Durant clearly don't want to be where they are, but they also don't want to be anywhere else. It's really cool. It's like this upper plane of NBA they're just like, we're not going to play anymore. So I like it.
Victor says, best movie you've seen recently, and I am going to not answer that question because Cousin Josh and I are doing our top 10 movies podcast next week, so you're gonna have to wait for mine. But Jim, do you have a favorite movie you've seen recently?
Oh wow, I'm in trouble because I work with
it's all kids. It's all kids.
With kids. This is so bad.
Yeah.
No, I can say that I really enjoy. Wait, let me do this. This is better. This is better. This is so bad that I have to do this. I really enjoy Kingdom on Fire. It's a book about UCLA. That's what I'm reading. That's it.
Okay. Well, if you need the movie stuff, that's coming next week.
I'm sorry. Movie? No, don't have movies. The Eagles.
All right.
Movie.
Ty says thoughts on recent news about reffing. I mean the news for the NBA officiating.
Oh.
I mean NFL. Sorry, the NFL officiating is what that they're. I don't even know. Actually, I don't even think I know what the.
What it just my friend was his college freshman roommate was Hockley's kid, and Sean Hockley said he's never going to be an NFL ref. Guess what? You're wrong, Sean.
I mean, what the conversations that I've heard about NFL officiating is that the league is somewhat concerned about the pipeline.
Okay.
That a lot of people aren't refereeing high school games and college games anymore because
abuse,
the culture of abuse, like getting doxxed and stuff.
Baseball's that issue too. Yes, I can see it.
I guess Ty's point may just be that like there's more discourse about officiating than ever before, in the sense of that things are biased, and I've lived inside of that as a Patriots fan, and now I'm living outside of it as I'm fine with the Chiefs, but I'm not a Chiefs fan. And like the good thing about sports media is that there's certain topics that if the person you're listening to is super, super invested in having a take on it and wants to talk about it over and over and over again, and that topic is insanely dumb, you can just decide there are a lot of other smart people to talk about. Anybody who takes seriously the idea that there's a conspiracy to get a team to win or to get a team to the Super Bowl is just a moron. It doesn't work that way.
I mean, if you ever saw the draft that Roger Goodell did from his basement, you would know he cannot manipulate a game. I mean, some of these sconces, no way. No,
there's no. It's too complicated for people this stupid to pull off a conspiracy of that level. If you want to tell me that the superstars get protected, they invented rules to protect the superstars. The first one was Tom Brady. Like this has all been created to make sure the superstars don't get hurt, because when superstars get hurt, the billionaires stop making quite as much money from advertising revenue. And the biggest star in the league right now is Patrick Mahomes. You're telling me he gets more protected than everybody else? I'm not shocked by that, but it's not a conspiracy. It's the way everybody wanted it because too many quarterbacks were getting hurt 10 years ago. Yeah,
it's really, we have to, I think what happens too with sports is we forget that it's like entertainment and money and sports and all this stuff. Like I remember I covered the Phillies one year and I interviewed this one guy. I was like, why'd they re-sign Ryan Howard? He was like, you do realize that kids buy like $120 jerseys all the time, right? Like, meaning you forget the business side of things, that, I don't know, Patrick Mahomes matters, and I don't know.
I mean, he matters in that they want him active, but like
but there's no agenda.
I mean, it's just. I mean, again, if like we're paying 3 minutes of lip service to it, but we're not.
But isn't
seriously
it also,
endorsing it?
But you, like, from the, like, I've never been in the midst of a dynasty as a fan. But what I can say is exposure just breeds contempt. Like,
exactly.
Like, so you're gonna come up with conspiracy theories because you're like, how can it keep happening? Because your team can't do it, buddy.
Right. I mean, and then you get the dingalings who need to come up with a. I mean, look at YouTube for 5 seconds about any single topic, and you'll see somebody who knows the real story, and they're not smart. You know,
I don't know about YouTube, but I search, like, I like searching my car on YouTube, and it says, "What's wrong with this car?" And I'm like, no, my car's fine.
M. Sloan says, this may not age well, but is Justin Herbert maybe Matt Ryan 2.0? He is great right until the moment he has to be great.
Kind of like it. Kind of dig it. Kind of like
different skill set, but
very different. Like Matt was like this person. Like I know Matt. Like I covered Matt in high school. Like I know Matt. But like seriously, the thing is, he's a processor. He's a huge guy, but like he was like a computer. This other guy's not that. He's like the big arm raw guy. I don't compare.
And a really good athlete. Yeah.
I don't compare them in playing style at all, but I do compare them in like this strange cap that it feels like there is on them, like that there's this
melt.
Like
Matty melt.
Yeah, 10.45 wins. And it's like, that's not even a real number. Yes, it is. Like maybe that's, he's going to get you there, but is he going to get you there? And that's my fear. But you know what? I don't know enough about it yet because the Chargers stank, but he certainly seems like he's down with it. So, like,
I mean, what's crazy? I had to check this. He just finished his 6th year.
It's been a while. Yeah, it's been a while.
It's unreal. I can't believe it. We're all so old.
But there are moments, aren't there? But like, can you buy moments?
There are, of course. Yeah, there are definitely moments. All right. That was awesome. Fun questions. I think we got to them all. Thank you all for submitting your questions. Dan says, do either of you attend NFL or college games often? Do you have any bucket list venues?
Well, ironically, I want to see Arrowhead. I want to go to Arrowhead. I've been to a number of good events. I think Arrowhead's really where I want to see, just because I don't know. Yeah. Red. I need to check. I don't go to too many games anymore, and I don't really care about bucket lists. I'm not the guy to ask, but Arrowhead's a good one. You just don't want to go when it's cold, though. It's too cold there in the winter. While we're in the middle of this thing, Jimmy Butler going to the Warriors. Oh, there he goes.
Andrew Wiggins.
Oh, I mean, you know what? Everybody gets a condo. Just straight condos. What's the Wi-Fi password? And Jimmy's not going to give them the Wi-Fi password. It's going to be really complicated. So,
does that help the Warriors? They make the playoffs now.
They do, and it's more importantly just we get to hear more about the NBA on TV. Just more. You know what though? The real question is how much playing time is Bronny going to get tomorrow? Okay, so
that is the question. All right. And actually, the chat is the one who told us that Jimmy Butler just got traded. That was live. That was live. Thank you, chat. Thank you to everybody. All right, let's do some picks in this Super Bowl game. Do you have a strong take on the point spread? It's been very flat.
Yes.
It opened at 1.5. There's some places where it's Chiefs -1, but if you're at -1.5, the juice is on the Eagles, and if you're at -1, the juice is on the Chiefs. So it's stayed pretty flat, and I am going to have somebody who knows what they're talking about as far as the markets go on the main podcast on Thursday, my buddy Matt Landis, and he'll answer this question. So I don't even want to talk about why it stayed the way it is, but how do you feel about that point spread?
I like it. I'm good with it. The last Super Bowl they played, obviously, it was Eagles were favored by 1.5. Now it's 1.5. These guys, it clearly says that there's some neutrality to the matchup, right? Or like that they're not entirely sure, right? It's a weird spread. Not weird, but it figures it's a who wins spread. It's not a pick, but let's be honest. Yeah, so I like that part because there's a certain number, but the stability of it really is interesting because how often does that happen? I know that there's this much money, so it's harder to move this number, but maybe I'm wrong because it never really moves. But
I mean, the public is on
the Chiefs.
I think the public's on Philly.
Am I wrong? So
yeah, I think the
teacher. So I show up at 4 and pretend. So
the wise guys are on the Chiefs. I think the volume is on the Eagles, but that's because people are rooting against the Chiefs.
Well, the map. So the rare time that the Eagles have some sort of public favor. So I suppose the last time I had listened to the Fezziks of the world, like the hardcore betting world, the bandwidth, they were saying early sharp money was birds, but that means nothing now that was like a week ago, right? That's like a century ago. I suppose my main thing is the stability of the game is that it speaks to that there's this known force, which is the Eagles. Like they're gonna try to do what they do. My main thing is nobody really knows. That spread tells me nobody really knows.
Okay, and I'll ask Gary's pick in a second. But what's your spread pick?
My spread is Eagles by 3
plus 1.5.
I had Eagles -3.
You think Eagles are 3-point better?
That was my first line. I'm insane.
So you're on the Eagles here. I'm on the Chiefs.
I hate to
say I think. Sorry, go ahead. I hate to say that I on this show, which is obviously a very Gary based show, and we're going to hear from Gary and his bet in a moment. But I can't. You better be up by 2 touchdowns at the end. That's all I got to say.
Well, that's right. I already called this place. I have calzones coming right then, right? So, someone's going to be disappointed. Me, the guy delivering it, someone's going to be upset. But here's the thing. I've never had this level of hubris or belief in in a team. There's something about this team. They don't know why they're there. They're like 12 years old.
You believe. Like you said it. I've been quoting you for a week now. You said the 52-man roster. There's no question.
That's what it is. They're the 52-man. They are the Trent Dilfer Ravens. So
they are the.
Hopefully, this guy's a little better.
They are the 52-man roster, and then you get to coach quarterback, and you go, "Oh man, that's not a battle I feel good about." Coach quarterback is not a battle I feel good about. But all right, and Gary, are you going to be on the Chiefs?
Yeah. First of all, there is a Chiefs bar on 12th and Federal in Philadelphia, and I just want to warn everybody: great place, good hors d'oeuvres, but let me tell you. Tap water, all right. That's all they do. It's all they use, And Philadelphia tap water is basically like battery acid. You know what I mean? First of all, here's what's gonna happen. Saquon. First of all, I don't even raise my voice that high. That's the first time I ever did that. Besides the last time. And go Birds. And honestly, I had it at minus 19.5, and this guy worked me down. All right, go Birds.
Well, I'm not shocked by Gary's pick. I also know that cousin Josh will be on the Chiefs. I've been texting with him, and he thinks the line should be like 3 for the Chiefs. So pretty clear, not a consensus among the people who we're talking to. How about some props and or other? Let's do 3 apiece. I have 3.
Sure. Okay. Let me pull them up. Sorry. Can you do yours first? Yeah.
Sure, I'll do mine. Even though I like the Chiefs, minus 1.5, I would take the Eagles at halftime. It's plus 0.5 at halftime, and this is what I think is going to happen. I think the Chiefs I think have been losing in all 4 of their Super Bowl.
Yes.
At halftime, and they were certainly losing to the 49ers last year. They were losing to the Eagles 2 years ago. This is what they couldn't be America's villain without breaking people's hearts. So at halftime, the Eagles will be winning. So I'll take Eagles plus 0.5 at halftime.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely ordered some calzones that time. It didn't work out. I like Jalen Hurts. This is even money on DraftKings, no juice. Whatever, plus 100, what do you call it? To complete 20 plus passes, so over 20 completions. I know that's like a bar he doesn't reach often, but like I said, I actually think not that they're going to replicate the run game, but I think there's going to be like much more timing and pattern and Goddard like quick hits. I think that's a play that I think is out there. Like that. Okay. I think there's going to be enough volume for that. Yeah, they're going to those long drives. So that's one of them. Yeah.
If the Eagles are having long drives, the Chiefs are going to try to have long drives with the 2 safeties back. Like it could be 8 possessions apiece in this game, which would be sort of scary. Sure. So I cleaned up in the championship weekend by just saying, now what tight end is playing against Philly's defense? Yes. And I'm just going to do that again, except in this case, it's Travis Kelce. Sure. So it's actually good. It's juice in my favor at 6.5 catches. Yeah. So I'm going to go Kelce plus 6.5 catches against a 2-deep zone that, frankly, I think they're going to pay some attention to Kelce beyond. But I think if what Philly gives up in this game is mostly underneath stuff for Travis Kelce, who isn't the player that he used to be, they probably can live with it the way they lived with Zach Ertz. Sure. And I get plus 123 on the juice. So over 6.5 catches, Travis Kelce.
Yeah, I can dig that. I mean, Reed Blankenship was the doing what you said, that not a man thing, but he was constantly on his task. If it was in his zone, he would follow him. I think it's going to be more Gene or somebody better than that, but still, I do agree that it's not going to be this priority thing. So, they're going to live with the underneath in that. So I kind of like that. I like Xavier Worthy. A lot of his rushing props, but I like over 1.5 rushes. And I know, obviously, I would love it at over half. That'd be great, right, Gary? No, he said no. But I mean, you're gonna get that at plus 130 if you do over and a half, right now, DraftKings. But the idea is that we talked about Andy Reid, he's gonna get at least one reverse because I just said so. So imagine if there's another one. No, but really, I do think. No, seriously though, the Eagles do and Fangio defenses do struggle with pre-snap motion. Reid constantly does that. He's like Turbo Magoo, and they used to run. No, seriously, they used to run Rashee Rice on 4 reverses a game, and he's not nearly the speed stretch guy that this is. And I think that they're going to take advantage of the fact that Nakobe Dean's out, or Burks does not have the side to side. Watch him for it might be 3 carries, but don't bet that. Just bet over 1.5, and you'll have fun.
I mean, I can see it. He's been a big part of the game plan, and they don't like to throw it to him down the field, except that one time, which was a crusher.
Yeah, exactly.
So my third and final prop here is Chiefs under 109.5 rushing yards. I don't think they're even going to try that much.
Right,
There's the danger that I see is Mahomes. The danger I see is Mahomes, does the stupid scrambles that gets, 30, 40 yards, and then I could be in trouble. But I don't think Isaiah Pacheco is right. I don't think they think he's right, and they're not even really trying him. Kareem Hunt's been much more used and probably a better player in the playoffs. And I don't think you're going to have success running against the defensive line anyway. So I think you're going to see a big Mahomes game, and they're not even going to try to run. So give me the under on the rush yards.
I love that. Like, this didn't make my full cut, but one of them was Pacheco under 6.5 carries. I'm not. It didn't make my list because I just don't want to sit there and be like, oh, he's got 3 carries. Like that.
Right.
That wouldn't be fun. But I think schematically, the idea that he's at 5 and 5, and more importantly, like it's about he's not on the field. He's on the field like 25% of the time. The other one that I like. Really, come on, guys. I'm not. This is not. It's not that hard to do this for me. It's AJ Brown over. Was it 69.5 yards? And then but it's 7-1 if you want him over 125 yards. And I'm just saying a sprinkle, a little sprinkle. Okay.
I mean, we love it. We're gonna do some more of that on.
We don't exactly know where they're gonna put. Like, are they going to move, McDuffie on him? And it's not that Watson's bad, but like, it's AJ Brown. And if he gets a solo, they are going to go to him, and we'll see what happens.
So I love it. I love that we're giving one away that's like a long shottier kind of thing. Right. We're going to do more. I asked Matt, because Matt, is very keyed into the lines. So on the podcast on Thursday morning, you're going to hear Matt give a few more ideas for like low squeeze, a lot of juice if it pays off type things. But there's one here. I for 7-1, that feels like not a terrible idea.
Yeah, no.
a dollar down. I don't mind. All right. Well, I think we made it through. Unless I'm forgetting anything. Dave, am I forgetting anything? Dave says nope. He said I didn't talk about the Myles Garrett asking for a trade, and that made him happy.
Yeah,
because
it's like very NBA famously. Stuff. He's definitely influenced by the Luka trade. He woke up that morning and was like, you know what? Let's go to brunch. So
I'm famously a Browns fan. That's what Dave Pyper just said. Yeah. Sir Gluten Frey in the chat kind of summed up the Jim McCormick experience. I'm an Eagles fan. I think they're going to win, but I know they're going to lose.
Yeah. I must be like really ruining my students' feelings on these games because I'm telling them to be extremely confident. So we'll see what happens.
What grade is that?
4th grade, like where they believe everything. It's great. So
those poor 4th graders. Yeah. Well, maybe it'll work out for you.
They're like Mr. McCormick said, it's just a lock, Dad.
Put the car payment on it. Don't do that. That's it. We made it through this entire season with all of you. I'm so appreciative for the diehards who came every week to this live stream. It was an experiment of doing this show that we've been doing for like, I don't even know, 7 years or something. First time we ever did it live. I had a blast. I hope all of you did too. For everybody who watches or listens afterwards, I'm so happy to have you around too. It's more fun when you can interact with us live, but that opportunity has now passed because this is the end of the show. No more YouTube for, several months anyway. The podcast though will be back. We'll be back on Thursday morning. Then it's a few week break, and then the podcast returns the beginning of March, and we start talking about NFL free agency. Until then, place a few bets, but please do it responsibly. It's for fun. It's entertainment. Please don't go chasing anything, just nice small little bets. It's great. I have to thank Jim McCormick for being an incredible co-host this whole time, this whole season. Thank Gary for becoming probably too big of a part in everybody's life, and especially David Pyper. Can I get some love for David Pyper in the chat? Can everybody hit the like button, the love button in the YouTube for Dave Pyper? Because he's playing hurt today. He's got a fever of 103. His wife is really, really sick. Somehow their kids are like fine, but the mom and dad are very, very ill, and Dave toughed it out for this show. So everybody say thanks to Dave. And Dave, I say thank to you too. The chat is catching up and everybody's giving you lots of love. Thank you to all of you. Thank you to everybody for listening. It's been a really awesome, fun season. We hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you down the road.